So for the past couple years, I've been searching for the perfect small pocket camera that can go anywhere. I've tried a handful of different cameras from a bunch of different brands, but the PowerShot V1 from Canon might be the closest that I've got.
Usually when I'm testing out a new camera, I like to travel somewhere. This year, I haven't had many opportunities to travel, so I'm taking advantage of the Calgary Stampede, one of the best events that happens in Calgary. I've been going my whole life, but every year it feels new and exciting, and it just gets me excited to take photos. It's hot, it's fast moving, and the days are long, and I need a small camera that can keep up. Speaking of small, I'm trying to travel as light as possible today. I'm gonna be recording this entire video on the Pocket 4 and on my iPhone 17 Pro, and the Canon PowerShot V1, but I'll tell you what clips those are. On paper, I'm pretty sure this camera is positioned as a vlogging camera or video first camera, but I want to try using it as a photo camera with a side of video.
So this camera was originally released in April 2025, about a year ago, but it hasn't really caught on. It's only been recently that I've seen people talking about it and making videos about it. It's a compact camera with a flip screen, a 16 to 50mm lens, a mic jack on the side, a 1-inch sensor. Basically, on paper, it's got some pretty amazing specs. I'm pretty sure it's positioned as a vlogging first camera, but I wanted to take this camera and see if I can use it as a photo camera with a side of video. Turning this camera on for the first time, I was actually pretty shocked how wide this 60mm lens is. I mean, makes sense for vlogging, but I suppose I could be using this for establishing shots, selfies, you know, that kind of thing.
The camera feels pretty nice in my hand when shooting. I can get all of my fingers on here when I've got this extended grip on here, and I really am digging this rubber. It feels nice and grippy, and it's not like I'm gonna drop the camera. There is this rubber piece on the back, and it's nice because it gives my thumb some grip. The shutter has perfect placement for my index finger, and this dial right here is also in a great spot if I need to change settings quickly. I'm not totally sure how I feel about this flip screen yet, but I do appreciate that there's a fairly wide notch right here to quickly grab this, and I don't need to have nails or something to dig it out. I can grab it every time on first try. I am missing having an eyepiece, especially in the bright sunlight like this. It's sometimes tough to see the screen. I did figure out where to turn the brightness up, and that helps a little bit. But having the assurance that my exposure is correct and that my framing isn't completely off when having an eyepiece, yeah, I kind of miss it. Keep in mind that I'm gonna be holding this camera all day, shooting as much as I can. I'm not just pulling this out for the casual photo and popping it back in my bag. It's living in my hand. I'm really impressed with how quick this camera starts up. I don't even think you can see the screen, but it starts really fast.
Startup time is important because this could be the difference between getting the shot or missing it entirely. Generally, on days like today, I like to keep the camera in my hand because I'm out here shooting, but if I do need to put it away, if I need my hands, this camera does fit into a fanny pack. I was easily able to put it in my 4-liter Peak Design bag. This bag's a little bit bigger than what I usually take traveling, but I'm confident it will fit in something smaller.
So I've got an interesting request for this camera. When I'm in video mode and I turn it on, I'm okay with it turning on and being at its widest focal range, 16mm. But when I'm in photo and I turn this camera on, I want it to be in 50mm or 35mm, something a little tighter. And if I'm just turning this camera on, trying to capture a shot in front of me, there's a good chance that I'm gonna be missing it because I need to zoom in. This might just be a setting. I couldn't find it in the settings, but that'd be a really handy feature. So I've been here for, I don't know, maybe an hour so far. I've turned the camera on and off 10, 20 times so far, and the battery has already dropped a couple percent. These tiny batteries don't last forever. We'll see if I can get through the entire day without this thing dying. So if you plan on shooting all day, it couldn't hurt to pick up a second or maybe even a third one of these and pop it into your bag or to your pocket. I did my best to try and plan ahead today. I brought this tiny Nomad 65-watt charger and a universal cable. I can charge my phone, I could charge the camera just in case things don't go my way. I really like these slim chargers and universal cables. I can slip them into my back pocket or into my fanny pack and don't even realize that they're there. Shout out to Jay Daniels for lending me this camera. I've been wanting to get this camera for the past year. I just haven't got around to it. I appreciate you. Thank you for making this video happen. I'm always a fan of shooting busy streets like this and using a long lens to compress it and make it look even busier than it actually is. I don't know if the 50mm on this camera is tight enough to get the image that I have in my head in a photo. So far, I've been pretty impressed with the autofocus on this, at least from what I can see from the back of the screen. There's a couple different ways to set up your autofocus zones on this camera. I have mine set up in a rectangle, and I just move the focus point around with my thumb. I think you can also do it with the buttons on the back, but I'm finding it quicker with just touching the screen. It also helps that I generally shoot center-weighted photos anyways. I don't know if it's because I'm familiar with Canon cameras, this isn't the first one I've used, but setting this camera up was pretty simple. There wasn't an overwhelming amount of options for how I wanted this camera set up. That being said, I don't think this thing is completely beginner friendly. There's a lot of terms and stuff in here that you need to have used cameras to know what these mean, or you're gonna have to search them up. AF, servo, mechanical, NR, dual pixel, but I'm also sure that there's a video online for how to set this thing optimally for you. And thankfully, all the Canon cameras have favorites menus, so you can put your most used settings in that menu so that you can access them really easily and quickly. Honestly, I don't know if I've got any banger photos today. I don't think that's the camera's fault. During the day, the freaks aren't out. There isn't any inspiring light, but the day's not over. We'll see what we can get. I enjoy taking photos in aperture priority, especially on smaller cameras like this where you have less tactile buttons and knobs to adjust your settings, because you basically only need to worry about your aperture. If your image looks too bright or too dark, you really only need to adjust your exposure compensation. I've mapped mine to a dial on the back so I can access it pretty quick, and it's on the screen on the back if I prefer to do it that way. So it's no surprise that some of my other favorite small pocket travel cameras are Fuji cameras. And obviously that's because of the film simulations. The PowerShot V1, as far as I know, doesn't have any film simulations. The advantage to having film simulations is your photos look pretty great right out of camera, and you can get them right on the internet or published without the requirement of editing. As somebody whose job it is to take photos, raw photos are completely fine with me. I'm used to editing. So having JPEGs that look nice out of camera isn't a requirement, it's just a nice to have.
So looking at these photos on the computer, turns out I only shot a couple of them in JPEG and the rest of them were shot in RAW. Overall, the photos look pretty good. I don't see any glaring red flags. The photos are pretty easy to edit, and all of the photos in this video that you see are edited. They're not straight out of camera. This isn't the sharpest lens, or maybe it's the sensor, but some of this background information kind of looks like it's been shot on iPhone. You know, where the background information just kind of looks like blobs. When you zoom out and look at the whole picture, it's not that noticeable, but just something that I noticed. I can't believe I'm not mentioning this till now, but one of the first things I need to do when I pick up any camera is turn off that autofocus beep. This beep is just so annoying. Every camera seems to have it. It gets turned off immediately.
In here is where the rodeo happens.
Looking back at this video footage, I can see that when I'm shooting really wide, it's got that Canon wobble. It's not a deal breaker, but as somebody who edits a lot of video footage, I just noticed this right away, and I don't know if it's distracting or not, but as an editor, it stands out. That being said, I enjoy how wide this lens is. It is great for vlogging. I can also keep the camera running when I'm talking to people, or even hold it up and nobody really cares or knows that I'm vlogging.
I'm in an interesting situation right now where I want a really wide lens to capture the entire stadium, but I also want something tighter to capture the action of the rodeo.
Now, just to give you an idea of what the focal range looks like on this camera versus something that you use all the time, your iPhone, here's a side-by-side of the PowerShot V1 versus my iPhone 17 Pro.
Thank you. One of the best things about Stampede is there's samples everywhere. This is probably my 5th iced tea today. Because this is likely a video first camera, there is thankfully a little built-in ND. The wild thing is, you can buy a bigger, more expensive camera and those don't have built-in NDs inside. These little guys somehow always seem to have them. It's nice that it's there, but it's not the strongest ND. So Jay, who I'm borrowing this from, has put this piece on the front. It makes this camera a little bigger, but it lets you attach 58 millimeter filters to the front of this. So today when I'm shooting video, I've got a variable ND filter. But if you wanted to put a bloom filter or some other creative filter on the front of this, that's what this piece is gonna let you do. So this is apparently a vlogging camera, so let's see what these vlogging features are like. So I just flipped this into the video mode. We're shooting as wide as possible at 16 millimeters. I threw the ND filter on here, and we're shooting in the standard picture profile. No Canon Log or Canon Log 2 or Canon Log 3. at least for now. I'm pretty sure the standard image stabilization is turned on, and I'm using the built-in mic on this camera, nothing else. These are the same settings, however, I just turned the digital stabilization on. Same settings again, I just turned on the enhanced image stabilization, so I believe this has just cropped in on the picture, and hopefully this looks a little bit more stable as I'm walking. This camera has a built-in mic jack. I brought some wireless lav mics. Let's plug these in and see what this is going to sound like. If the built-in microphone on the camera is actually as good as Canon says that it is, I can see why Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon are using this camera to do their vlogging. I'll do grapefruit.
Grapefruit? Yeah, they're mini cans.
I can feel that the camera is getting pretty warm to the touch. This camera does have a built-in fan. I don't know when that kicks in. I can't hear it kicking in yet, but we'll have to keep an eye on that to see if this thing overheats. You know how every company is trying to put AI into everything? What if camera companies put AI search so that you could just find what you're looking for in the menus just by talking to it? I feel like that'd be a good use of AI. Sometimes I'm searching in these camera menus for 5 minutes and still can't find what I'm looking for. The light is starting to get a little lower. This is where it'd be kind of nice to have a built-in flash on this camera. It's not a deal breaker for me, it's a nice to have. I've seen a lot of people around here using smaller cameras with flashes, so I know it's important to some people. I forgot to bring it today, but I actually have a flash that fits into my hot shoe mount. It's only about this big, it's like the size of a sugar cube. If a flash is a deal breaker for you, maybe one of those small removable flashes would fix that. Another sample, Red Bull is giving out drinks. This one is the white peach. I haven't had this before. Very peachy.
Oh, update on the battery life. This thing did make it through the day. However, I wasn't shooting a ton of video, so I'd imagine if you were, you'd probably need a second battery or a charge throughout the day.
So there's definitely some trade-offs to this camera. First one being the focal range. This is no surprise. I thought I could get around it a little bit more, but it definitely feels more geared towards video. Obviously, it's more of a video camera, and it feels like you got a 16-35 strapped to your camera. Love that for video, not necessarily for photo. No built-in JPEG filters like the Fujis have. It's not a downside, it's just a trade-off by having a small, portable camera like this. If this was designed to be a photo-first camera, I'd love to see a flash in it. I understand why there isn't a flash, but I still kind of wish it was there. Now, is this a good camera? I think it's really good at what it's designed to be. A video camera that also happens to take photos. I was hoping it'd be a great photo-first camera with a side of video, and I don't know if it's quite there yet. Now, for the right person, this camera is amazing, but it reminds me that I would love some company, some brand, to make a brand new, tiny, pocket-sized photo-first camera with a side of video. Something with a 16 to 50 millimeter lens, a viewfinder, a flash, a big enough grip that you can hold it all day, but small enough that you can keep it in your pocket. Maybe even a flip screen and a mic jack. I don't know if that's too much to ask for. I feel like whatever company creates this is gonna sell trillions of these. Maybe not trillions, but they're gonna sell a lot. But for what it is, a point and shoot video camera to capture your life, it's pretty awesome. I haven't even looked at the photos or videos from this thing yet, but I did feel inspired to carry this thing around, and I really enjoyed my experience carrying this camera around all day. And I think your experience with a camera is really a big reason why you own the camera. In the meantime, I'm gonna keep carrying around my Sony RX100 Mark VII and keep crossing my fingers that they're gonna release a new version, even though I know they're not going to. And I can't wait till I get back to my computer to see what these photos and videos actually look like. Anyways, there's a couple more days of Stampede. I'm gonna try out this Super Tele lens here at the Stampede. I'll be posting that video on the Moment channel when that one's done. My name's Davey. Thanks for letting me spill the gravy. And this camera's on top of a garbage can and people keep walking up to me really awkwardly, so I guess that's the end of the video. Oh, if you want to see more videos about pocket-sized cameras that I've tried in the past, check this out right here.